Your name is Morgan Freeman. What the heck, Morgan Freeman? Anyways, you are a
theoretical physicist.
and you're in a bit of a tough situation at work, but that's besides the point. How do you get around? Typically, what I would do is take a look at the city itself. That's what we always do, and in all previous episodes, that is what I have done. But in this case, it's a bit more interesting, as the Black Mesa Monorail is within the Black Mesa Research Facility, a closed-off facility that is not a typical situation where you would have trains and buses and various other things. It is designed for the scientists in the laboratory to more efficiently complete their daily tasks and needs. So firstly, let's talk a bit about the complex. Well, it's a very high security complex where classified research takes place. There are security guards heavily armed everywhere that will not hesitate to shoot a hostile enemy. The place contains retinal scanners to keep out unwanted people, and the facility can be fully shut down from the outside, preventing anyone from entering, or at least that's what's said. Since the facility is so secure, you might assume that some very, very serious research would be taking place there, and you would be right. They undertake research in fields that cover the entirety of sciences, mathematics, or any other nerdy field you could think of. Radiation, rocketry, theoretical physics, lasers, hydraulics, experimental propulsion, hydroelectricity, genetics, zoology, applied mathematics, and a very wide spectrum of research into chemistry and all manner of various types of physics research. And who would you think is behind all of this? Why, of course, the US government. Black Mesa was built sometime during the 1950s, or that is what is assumed. And despite its age, it hosts a variety of very high caliber scientists and scientific research fields. So of course this place is very notorious. Anyways, I think I have conveyed the importance and scale of this facility already. So let's learn a bit more about the system itself to get a better feel of how the facility and the transit system intertwine together to coexist and help one another. Okay, so the vehicles and the way that whole thing works is a separate topic. I'll get to that soon. But first off, let's take a look at the network. The network looks very interesting. As you can see, the various spaghetti strings of lines have these whack turns that you don't see very often in transport systems, and I assume this is also to facilitate things like boilers or various other technical spaces where you need that space. You can't just design it around something. But let's take a look at, let's say first, the green line. Why the green line? Just look at this thing. It goes topsy-turvy, like it's some sort of game of chess over here with pieces falling up and down. Looking at the green line, we can see that it's one of the most central lines along with the blue line, and it connects to various other lines, every single one on the network almost, except for the blue one, which it intersects with but does not connect for some reason. It starts with a transfer to the orange line, otherwise known as the yellow line, even though it's orange. I don't know if that's a color grading issue or if that's just the way they chose it to be, but anyways, it's probably the orange line. And then it continues along to a red line connection with no intermediate stops, it seems to be. I don't know if these dots are some sort of indication of a transfer and endpoint, because that's what it seems to be, but it looks like there are stops in between. So the navigability of these maps is also questionable. But after the red line transfer, it takes this really awkward, twisty, turvy-turny path to its terminus. Now, let's check out what kind of places it stops at. Aside from its connections with the yellow and red lines, the green line stops at 4 different locations. The first one being the main facility entrance, which is pretty self-explanatory, and which makes the green line a pretty significant line. And then next up, the Sector E Biodome Complex, which is, in fact, a major station for research and various other deals. Reason being, because this is where a whole nother parallel rail system is operated, known as Sector E Materials Transport. Aside from that, Sector E is also one of the 7 main sectors in the complex, and is home to specimen testing, containment, and observation, which is a pretty big part of the facility when it comes to its genetics department and all of those mutants. The next stop is the Area 7 Recreational Facilities area. While not seen in the game, this is a part of the ecosystem, you could call it. Since all the employees have to live at the facility, this area, of course, contains various places for recreation, cafeterias, sporting areas, and even a cinema. So that's good to hear that at least the facility is providing a humane place where the scientists can feel relaxed. Last but not least is the Sector A training facility, where of course the employees are trained. Here they put on various kinds of suits, have combat training, and just general training for the worst case scenario. Here a unique trait is also the bleeding edge holographic assistance, which for the time seemed to be an undisclosed technology to the public, at least accounting for the era the game takes place in. That's it for the green line, but to just spice things up a bit before moving on to other lines, let's take another look at the map. Now, you're not looking at the map for the reason you think we are. I'm looking at the map to evaluate its graphic design. You see, transit maps come in all different shapes, sizes, thicknesses, and colors. Some have thin lines, some have thick lines. Some like to follow the actual track path, while some just want to convey and tell you which station goes where. As for this map, it does follow what seems to be the actual track layout, and it only shows the major points and doesn't denote the stations well. If you're a super game nerd, especially for Black Mesa, you could probably tell me exactly where each station is, but if you're here for the first time, you're not going to see any of that. You're going to get lost in the network. The coolness factor is pretty high. It's a cool map, it has nice colors, and the graphic design is pretty satisfying to look at. But other than that, another satisfying thing would probably be the straight and horizontal lines exclusively. No weird slants or tilts here, but overall for navigability, it is a pretty poor map. Now for the somewhat strange shuttle service looking red line. The first station one would see is the Level 3 dormitory complex. This is one of two dormitory complexes and it is not topside, meaning surface level. The other dormitory complex, known as Area 8, is topside. Other than that, the complex has a library, a cafeteria, and an aquatic center. There isn't much to complain about, and it seems like a similar experience to living at a university dormitory. For a great contrast, you will go to the next station, which is Sector G Hydroelectric. This is another one of the main 7 sectors, and it is yet another testament to the entire facility being self-sufficient, as this is a huge dam with even a road going over it. Also to be noted is the potential issue with train service here, with one of the Black Mesa scientists citing, if you're waiting for the train to Sector G, then you'll probably be better off walking it. I overheard someone say that all the trams on this end of the facility are having problems. After that is yet another major stop, being the Area 3 medium security facilities, or I'll just call them Sector C test labs. This is one of the 7 main sectors of the research facility once again, and this hosts various kinds of fields of research, typically involving a bunch of buttons and gadgets and whatnot. Control rooms, you get the deal. The last station on the red line is probably the coolest of all of them, having connections to a freight yard, probably the only system in this entire complex that uses conventional rail and that has connections to the outside world. Of course, this freight yard is used to ship items in and out of the facility. Okay, so you already get it. You have all these places along these lines that are stations. So for the next 2 lines, we're just going to speed run through the stations quickly because you already get the whole idea, and then we'll talk more about the rolling stock. So the yellow line connects to the green line and the blue line, and it stops at Sector D Administration, High Altitude Launch Center, which launches stuff, and the Sector F Lambda Complex. Last but not least is the blue line, stopping at Sector C Test Labs, Sector B Coolant Reserve, and Area 9 Central Transit Hub. The Transit Hub, however, cannot be visited despite how cool it sounds. And now a little bit about the rolling stock. The rolling stock of the system is very interesting because it is a monorail but referred to as a tram. The inside, as you can see in this recording, has priority seats, even a garbage can as far as I see, and an elevator that goes up and down. You can see here that the track physically goes up and down, which is something that is almost never seen. It's like a turntable, but in a different plane of motion. Also, it rotates. And what else is super unique is that it has motors on the top and bottom. If you watch the recording, you can see multiple times that the train or tram, whatever you call it, you know what, that the train goes from a bottom running monorail to a suspended monorail. So that means that the monorail has a motor on the top and bottom of the carriage, something that, as far as I know, is not seen in real life at all. And here is the transition, as you can see. The vehicle in suspended mode is very resemblant of the Wuppertal-Schwebebahn. I definitely butchered that pronunciation, but you get it. And now you know all about this cool system. Unfortunately, it was kind of destroyed in the large Black Mesa incident, but we don't speak about that. Anyways, you guys might be wondering why this video was a bit rushed near the end, and that is because I have not uploaded for a while. Now, I want you guys to let me know if I should rush if I don't upload for a while, or if you want me to take my time. But also, I have a flight to catch in a few hours, and who knows, it might turn into a TTD on tour episode. Who knows? But I had to get this out before the flight, otherwise I wouldn't have access to my PC for a while, and a video surely would not come out for like 2 months if I didn't take this. So anyways, thank you all for watching. I'm the Transit Diaries, and as always, stay tuned for more.